The content you're about to enjoy comes from the archives of The Best You. We're devoted to the very best in personal development, with a platform and resources dedicated to inspiring and changing people's lives. At The Best You, we work with the world's leading writers and trainers on the evolution of the self, and people whose journeys have been affected by their work and words. These Best You EXPO talks are recorded in front of a live audience in a live event. We highly recommend that you focus on the message. As they say, what you focus on expands. Enjoy.
Welcome. Can I just say, this is not going to be just about horses. I know some of you were a little bit confused. This is about how you can increase your relationships, improve your connection, communication, and commitment. So just to get a bit of a feel for who we have here, who is in a relationship at the moment, and who here has given up on love? Okay, all right. And who here just really needs a sit down because all the cafes are filled? Okay. So I'm Wendy Firmin-Price. Now, I will, as you can see, we're all having technical difficulties already, so ask me about the meaning of life, love and the universe, not a problem. What will happen with these slides could be anything, so let's keep fingers crossed. Where do I press? There? So, there you go. So, my name's Wendy Firmin-Price, and as you can see, my passion is horses, but more importantly, I'm really passionate about relationships. Relationships have been a research that I have done for several years now. Anyone else been in that? You know, I call it frogology, you know, where you kiss as many frogs as you can to find your prince, or your Cinderella gentleman. So I do work with horses, but my key work is about developing relationships. I'm really passionate about helping people have the best relationships they can. And there's certain reasons we need to be able to do that. And I'm very proud to announce I've got my first book out, The Heart of Successful Relationships, and that's how the Healing Power Horses can transform your life. And there's lots of copies to play with on my stand, which is just outside. Come and ask a question of the book and see what gets revealed. Now, if you're calling in unexpected, can I please pre-warn you? This is more likely how you'll find me, okay? So, I'm having a dress-up day, and at this point I need to ask some permissions. Permissions to have some fun, just interact, answer questions. Permission to share an opportunity at the end of the session. But the most important one, if I can't manage 45 minutes in these shoes, would you let me wear my wellies, please? They are matching. So, do I have your permissions for that? Oh, great. Let's have some fun then. So, what brings you here today? Maybe you are. Maybe you have given up on love. Maybe you're caught up in a trail of keep attracting the wrong type of partners. The unsuitables, the unhealthies, and the unavailables. Maybe you're here because you feel at a crossroads in your relationships. Not sure what's happening. Maybe you've had a really great time and something's not quite right. Maybe you're here because you need some help with your family issues. Because it's not just about being in a relationship with a partner that we need to explore. I'd like you to imagine having a relationship that answers your needs, that allows you to be you in a relationship, that you have a partner that fully supports you and what you would like to do. Imagine being able to speak your truth, get your needs met as well as theirs. How many feel that's a bit far-fetched? No? Oh, great. So you do feel, okay. Well, how do we get from our disillusionment to our wonderful relationship? And with your permission, I'll share a little bit about that later on. Because I had been very disillusioned with relationships, but now I can say there is hope. So, if relationships are all this hassle, why bother? Well, would you agree that in the world we are seeing so much conflict, so much pain and miscommunication, disconnection? And could you agree that there's no time like now that we really need to sort out our relationships? But the most important relationship we need is to sort out this relationship with ourselves. Because what if all of what we're seeing on the outer is a reflection of what's going on inside? Now, who can remember their first love? Okay. Now, can you get back into that feeling? You know, before you were disillusioned, before you had any mess-up, can you remember that rush of energy, that excitement, that love? Mine was when I was 12 years of age. And, no, that's not me. And I do remember my heart was going. I was really, really excited. And he turned out to be one of my best friends throughout life. And I could go to him with anything, any challenges, any problems. I could cry on his shoulder. And he was just that strong, silent type. He wasn't very tall, but he definitely was dark and handsome. And I'd been with it, and he didn't actually mind me going out with other people, because you know what it's like as you grow up. You have to experiment with different relationships till you find your prince. But invariably, I would always end up being disillusioned yet again and go back and cry on his shoulder. And on this particular occasion, I felt at quite a crossroads in my life, and I was walking down the road with him, and I said to him, how come I can be with you for 30 years and it's not seem like a day, and yet in other relationships it's felt difficult, it's been hard. See, I'd come out of a very, very unhealthy, toxic relationship. Have you ever been in that situation where you've been too frightened to stay and yet equally frightened to go? And I'm not going to go into that story now, that's one for another occasion, but it's still, when I went into the new relationship, it's still difficult to trust again. Has anyone else had that experience where you want to trust, but you know you've had such traumas or disillusionment with your partners and you keep them at arm's length? But with my first love, it was really easy. And I said, why is it that I can be with you all this time? And he said, that's easy. You see, wait for it. This is my first love. And I did have him for 30 years. But he taught me everything I knew about relationships. Because I could easily love him. And on that day, I don't know whether he did actually talk to me or whether it was just an inspiration thought. But I'd been about 2 years into my new relationship, but I still wasn't happy, didn't feel connected or committed. And I swear I heard, in the middle of Ockham, if anyone knows it, near the Mucky Duck, Have you ever had that time where you remember certain inspirations? And he said to me, it's easy. You've only ever given to me. And I thought, well, I didn't feel I'd sort of particularly took in relationships, but actually, I suppose I did have a bit of a demand that people were there to meet my needs. I had a demand to be right about things. But with Tiggy, it was very different. Now, who else finds it easier to love animals than people? Yeah? But what I'd like you to do is get into that energy of why is it so easy? And maybe it's because of those expectations that we put on humans that we don't have them on animals.
If you're interested in sharing your story, sharing your dreams, sharing your ideas in the largest personal development platform, the Best You EXPO, sign up today. Go to www.thebestyouexpo.com or send an email to info@thebestyou.co.
And so the other challenges that come up with relationships is we don't have that commitment. How many commitment phobes do we have in the audience? Okay, yeah. So I'm guessing the reasons are terrified it might be the wrong person. What if it doesn't work out? What if they reject me? Can anyone identify with that? Yeah? But what I've learned about commitment, and I actually researched it with my current partner, when you commit, something magical happens. You see, when you commit, if it's not true, it will fall away. Sorry, if it's true, it will stay. If it's not true, it will fall away. You might want to write that down. It's a Wendyism. You'll see lots of them in the book. And I've put this to test several times because when we're holding back from a relationship for fear that it's not going to be right, then you'll find that you're always losing some energy of that. Now, commitment doesn't mean to say you've got to go running down the aisle and, marry the person. But it's about opening your heart and giving without that expectation of reward. But that's not about being in sacrifice. Because in sacrifice, we are then still taking. We're trying to get approval. We're trying to get love. And all the time we're trying to do that, there isn't this true connection. And so we have to look at our relationship with ourselves first to be able to get that commitment. Commit to yourself and what you need, and you'll find commitment to others becomes much easier. So, who's up for just doing a little bit of an exercise, just to warm up the room? So, if you could just pair up, and what I'd like you to do is just turn. You will need to be so you can hear one another, okay? And I'd like you to just see, one of you will be looking that way, and one of you are going to be looking that way, okay? Invitation to play, okay? So, we've got one. Okay, so I've just married up you two, so would you like to go and have, yep, or do you want to up the front seat? Okay. Okay, has everyone got a partner? Okay. Okay, so person A, the attractive one, okay? It's all right, don't worry. B's the beautiful, okay? So, decide who's going to go first. And what I'd like you to do, and unfortunately this is not the best room to do it in, is I want you to, just for the moment, just share what you can see from that side of the room, okay? And the other partner, you're quiet for a moment, okay? All right, so off you go. So you stay looking, so that your partner just stays looking at the opposite direction. Okay, you're just going to describe what you can see. Yeah, okay. Fit for what you can visually see. Okay? Okay, and now if you'd like to swap over, and then The opposite partner now describes what they can see. Okay? Okay, so now this is where the fun's going to start. Okay? So now you need to have a discussion about who's right. Okay? Okay, so you've got to really make your case why what you're seeing is right, and your partner needs to make the case why they are seeing what's right. Okay, go for it. Let's have a good old discussion, nice and loud. Okay, go for it. You've got to be really convincing. Got to be right about this. Okay, so what are we concluding? What have we discovered by that exercise? Difference of perspective, yeah? Yeah? Who was right? Exactly, both of you. And this is really important to remember, that in communication, both of you are probably right about whatever it is you're discussing. But you are coming from totally different sides of the pendulum. And it's really important to understand that when you're having a discussion, because the more you're trying to say, well, this is how it is, your partner's going to say, well, no, this is how it is. And so you're going to have this conflict. So what would be a way to resolve this? Don't have to have the conflict, no. So how would we avoid the conflict? Yeah. Now, this doesn't mean about giving in to and just not having an opinion, but it's trying to see the other side of the partnership and the conversation, hear them first, and then you're more likely to get heard of what you need. So, seek first to understand that you may be understood. Speak your truth with kindness and compassion, and then everyone can feel good. Another Wendyism. You see, when we sometimes have that need to be right, it's a way to disconnect. And if I can just briefly share a story about Tracy, who came on one of my one-day workshops. And she was having enormous problems with her partner. She'd go home and he hadn't done the dishes, he hadn't put the trash out, the usual thing that us ladies seem to expect of you men to do. But she kept sort of really demanding that he did it. Now, is it right to ask a gentleman's perspective of what does it feel like when you're being demanded of?
It feels draining.
Great, it feels draining. Yeah, because in those demands, we are trying to take from the other person. And that's what we want to see if we can avoid. We want to be able to connect with the person and understand. So Tracy learned that instead of just demanding that he did and getting the up, right up when he didn't, she learned to see, okay, well, what was happening that was preventing him being able to say yes or do what she'd asked. And yes, there's certain things, but often the more we have a demand, even unconsciously going on, the more that will disconnect and actually stop the very help that people want to do. Because I truly believe that partnerships I think people want to be the best they can in a relationship. I mean, asking you, in a relationship, would you all want to be the best person you can? Yeah, it's obvious. You don't want to be the bee from hell. At least I hope not. But you need to be able to understand where they're coming from as well. And so she went home with this new information and just talked to him and asked what was preventing him. And there was a perfectly logical reason, I can't remember what it was. And so they had a discussion about how she felt when it wasn't done. So she claimed what she was feeling. She didn't say, you make me feel. It was like, this is what's going on for me when this isn't happening. I feel insecure. I feel overwhelmed, etc. And so they were able to have a much more honest communication. And now their relationship's got to another new level, which is really exciting. Now, another thing that blocks, well, let's ask you, what do you feel stops that connection in a relationship? What? So I'm competing against her.
Maybe when each person is stick on his position and pretend that what he sees is the truth.
Right. So if I heard that amongst other, so that person is right about thinking about they're right about what they're doing and everything else. Okay. Selfishness now. There's a very good reason why that you'll have a selfish partner. Has anyone got a selfish partner or seemingly selfish partner? I mean, you don't have to actually admit that. Just give me that. Especially if they're already here. Okay, so there's lots of things that disconnect, but let's talk about why we have partners attracting certain people.
If you're interested in speaking, exhibiting, or getting involved in the largest personal development expos in the world, contact us today at www.thebestyouexpo.com or send us an email to info@thebestyou.co.
So would you agree that your belief systems are very similar to an iceberg? Yeah? We're quite aware of our conscious ones, and we've probably got, you're here, you're open-minded, you've probably got good mindsets, try and think positive. But the Titanic wasn't sunk by the iceberg, part of the iceberg they saw. It was sunk by the part of the iceberg that we couldn't see. And so and this is what happens with our beliefs. We have a lot of unconscious beliefs. We have blocked emotions, we have childhood traumas, and we have relationship traumas. And they actually physically go in your body. Now, what happens, and who's familiar with the law of attraction? Pretty much, okay. So law of attraction, you have to, wherever you are, you have to meet, you're either similar energy, so like attracts like, or you have to have the opposite balance. So I'm going to ask you to think about, do I go into sacrifice to get what I need? Now, by that, we may be doing things that, because we don't want to get rejected or abandoned or hurt, we may not be coming from our truth. We may not be being able to speak up. And so what happens, we come into an untruth. And that untruth will then be mirrored by how your partner or the people you attract will show you where you're at. So this leads on to a beautiful example. I had Vanessa come along, and Vanessa was, like you, just in a brand new, some of you, a brand new relationship, but she was very nervous of expressing what she needed. And just to tell you a little bit how that works with the horses. So the horse, Barclay, represented her partner, and we set some obstacles, and she was afraid to stand up for what she wanted, which was to go and do Bowen, because she was afraid that he would then reject her and finish with her if she stayed doing what she wanted to do. And so the horse just totally refused to go anywhere. Okay, so she's pulling, trying to pull. Okay, anyone identify that? Trying to make your partner do something? Anyone? Yeah? And the more you pull, the more they dig their feet in. Yeah? So I invited her to explore getting into a more authentic energy. I said, go and think about what it is you truly want to do. Forget whether or not this partner's going to come with you. Because coming back to our commitment, if you're committed to yourself first, true to yourself first, if that's the right partner, they will be coming along with you. If not, it will fall away. Anyway, so she changed her energies, had her goal to what she wanted to be able to do, live her purpose. She wanted to be a Bowen lady. And with that, the horse just came along. No pull, loose rein, it just followed. And the reason that was so symbolic is that that's actually what happened for her relationship. And 2 weeks ago, she's just had the baby boy they had together. She celebrated her first year. So it works. Because she stayed more true that she wanted, he was still there. He came along with her. And, if he hadn't, then why waste time? Why waste time being with people you don't want to be with? We don't want to put them in a prison. So does that help to answer the question about being the selfish stuff? Yeah. So if you've got a partner completely opposite to you, you need to look at where you might be able to balance on the opposite side of the pendulum. Okay. And that helps to all the type of people that you attract will also give you a clue as to what you might be believing. So, demands destroy, requests respect. Okay, so when you want to make that communication and that connection, a very good word I use when I'm making requests is, would you be willing to? And that gives a permission to say no. When we ask for things, we need to be able to allow them, people, whoever it is, to have an opinion and speak their truth as well. So, if I may tell you about Opportunity Knocks next week, Saturday the 11th. Now, I'm aware that a lot of people don't like working with horses, don't like getting muddy, but frightened of them. So I have this brand new program that is bringing all those principles. I've just packaged a brand new heart program that reveals the secrets to real communication. There's a bit of a blueprint. There's a series of questions that you can apply to anything. And that actually doesn't mean just your partner. It applies for money, it applies for business, it's success. It's a formula that you can use. And we've got a whole day, and it's going to really there'll be some practical exercises, a bit more like we've had today, and it's a wonderful opportunity to really understand these principles. And so what this will do is help you resolve conflicts in a more peaceful way, or find the harmonious way through things. And it helps us release that destructive blame game. We either blame ourselves or we blame our partner. If it wasn't for you, I'd be able to do this, or, oh, it's all my fault, And more importantly, and what I'm really passionate about, is finding the courage to be you, your authentic self in a relationship. Because if you can't be you in a relationship, who can you be? Can't be anybody else. Everybody else is taken. Yeah? So we have to be ourselves. We have to be who we truly are. And that's warts and all. And we need to overcome those fears of rejection, those fears of commitment, loneliness, and it's the secrets to attracting the partner of your dreams. I expressed earlier that I was in a very toxic relationship. And with these principles, I was able to move from that, from being terrified. And without being such a drama queen, I was terrified for my life. I was terrified for my horses because he was unfortunately had the illness of alcoholism. But I was able to find true love again, the next partner. And last weekend, we celebrated 25 years together. And that wasn't a pony. That was a real man. And for me, who never even got past the 2-year mark with relationships, that was a huge thing for me. I couldn't even spell the word commitment, but I learned how to commit. I learned how to connect. I learned how to communicate. And I'd love to share what's really worked that can totally transform your life, your relationships. So the launch day is $299, and for those attending, we'll get a bonus online course. But you don't know me. And so I'm really passionate about getting this work out to people. So I've made a real bargain of just £97 for the whole day, and you will go away with your blueprint of being able to work with your relationships. It's going to be somewhere in London. I'm just waiting on the confirmation. And if you, by the end of the day, don't feel you have got some tools to take into a relationship or work with relationship, you can have your money back. No quibble. I would love you to come and experience what has worked for me, what's worked for hundreds of my clients, and be able to have the relationships that you dream of. And for the first 10 people to sign up, you get your personalised relationship health check, and that's worth £197, so one-on-one coaching with myself and my lady Dee. If you'd like to shout out, Dee will help us sign up. And if you haven't got your money with you and you just want to put a deposit down and us call you on Monday, then that's fine too. Oops, back one. So, remember, relationships are easy. Everything and everyone just want to be loved unconditionally. But the most important relationship is who? Yourself. You need to love you, and then you will find your ideal relationship. Many thanks. Well, I'm on stand 172 just outside. Thank you. Hey, and I didn't need to use my wellies. Mind you, my feet are numb. Thank you.
For more information, go to www.thebestyou.co.